Hi Year 11s. In this video I'm going to talk to you about how to fill in your student evidence sheet. Okay, to start with, we are again on the all-inclusive document and we are on page 7. All right. Student evidence sheet. Now firstly, to explain the purpose of this, when your work gets sent off to SACE, those people who are looking at your grades, particularly your practical grades, have not seen you cook in the kitchen and they didn't get to see your dish. This page is evidence of your cooking practical and everything you did on the day as well as leading up to it to ensure you had a successful dish and hopefully achieved a high grade. So you need to pretend that someone's reading this who didn't get to see you cook in the kitchen and show them all the wonderful skills you use and the techniques that you applied. I've got some boxes here to help you along the way, so I'm going to talk you through each of those and give you some ideas of what to write. First of all, if we come down to this box here, this is all about implementing safe practices in the kitchen. I've got some tips here on the side to guide you along, and I suggest you put at least one dot point for hygiene, one for safety, and one for cleanup. Over in the student response, you need to tell me what you did to make sure that you were hygienic. So things like washing your hands, putting on an apron, okay, not blowing your nose or touching your face without washing your hands, wearing gloves if you had nail polish on. Right, safety. What safety steps did you take in the kitchen to ensure your workspace was safe at all times? Give me an example. And cleanup. Tell me what you did for your cleanup to make sure that it was hygienic once again and safe. Just a dot point, so it doesn't need to be paragraphs, but something like hands were washed, an apron was worn, hair was tied back before beginning cooking would be a good one relating to hygiene. Coming down to the next point, selection and use of technology. So this is where you talk about any key utensils or pieces of equipment that you needed to use for your practical and how you actually use them with the food. So if you needed to use a food processor, then you would indicate that you used a food processor and what you used it for. If you needed to use the oven at a particular temperature, then again you could include that and exactly what process you were using the oven for. Was it baking? Were you steaming something, etc. The third box here is knowledge and practical skills. So this is where you talk about all of the techniques, and skills that you used. So what cooking methods were required as part of your recipe? Did you have to bake, boil, saute, scramble, poach? If you need some tips, go to the internet and look up a list of different cooking techniques and pick out the ones that you used. How did you go following your recipe? Right? Did you have to adapt anything or did you follow it precisely for a good outcome? Then the actual dish outcome, explain how you plated it, what it looked like, and the flavours, the textures. What was the outcome? Was it successful? Would you make any changes? And presentation. So if you didn't already talk about that with the dish outcome, then have a separate dot point for the presentation. Again, if you can have a dot point or two for each of these suggestions, that would be enough in your evidence sheet. Moving over to the other column, which is photo evidence of performance standard. All right, it's important here to add photos. Now, I will always take some photos during the practical, but I always advise that you take your own in case I miss an important step. And just for ease of access, you've got them there. You can start working on this straight away. You want to go through your photos and see if you can find some that link with the dot points that you have written. So if you've got some evidence of you washing your hands or having a neat workspace or your cleanup at the end, put those photos in here and copy and paste the dot point that links best with your photo. Same with each of the 3 boxes. You might have multiple photos and it's quite fine if this table expands and ends up being more than the 1 page. Okay, the more photos, the better, as long as they're not just repeating themselves over and over again. Try and show a variety of different things in your photos. This will then help you with what to write about in your evaluation. So I always suggest that you complete this first. However, don't spend hours and hours on your evidence sheet. Okay, it's just important to get the dot points down and the photos in. All right, I think that's it. Please ask if you have any other questions or seek some help from your classmates.